Hi everybody, this is Elijah. If you are depressed, if you suffer from extreme, chronic, clinical, debilitating depression, or you know somebody close to you, a friend or family member that you care about who suffers from depression, then this video is for you. This video is going to center around what not to say to somebody who is depressed, and I'm going to offer suggestions to you of what you can say instead that would actually be helpful. So stay tuned. Okay, so depression is not a very fun thing for anybody to go through. People are suffering every single day. And if you know somebody who suffers from depression, then you will surely know that being around them it often comes with a feeling of walking on eggshells all the time. Because you don't know what you're going to say that is going to hurt them and plummet them back down into their abysmal state. Now, really there are two kinds of people who deal with others who are depressed. There are those who have no empathy and sympathy at all. They don't understand. They don't want to try to understand. And they'll say things to people who are depressed. Why are you being so lazy? Why are you so apathetic? Look at you. You have everything you need. You have a house. What are you sad about? Depression does not equate with sadness. And these sorts of people are doing so much harm to their loved ones and all the world than they can possibly realize by having that sort of a mentality. Those sorts of people, they might not change. But there are also others, friends and family members of a depressed individual who do care, who genuinely care. They want to understand. They don't want their loved one to be suffering like this. They just want them to be happy. And they genuinely want to help. So first off, if you want to know what depression feels like to help you get a better understanding for your loved one, then check out this video right here. It might be a little bit long, but I think it's well worthwhile your time to watch that video thoroughly. So let's just get into it. There are things that a caring family member or friend would say to a depressed person that makes things worse when they don't intend for it to be so. Understand that somebody who is suffering through depression, they're suffering bad. And their mind right now in that moment is in a place where everything is distorted around them. Their entire reality, they see everything through black and white. So even if you genuinely say something that you think would be helpful to a depressed person's mind, it'll often twist what you say and make it seem like it's negative or you're not listening to them. Depressed people are sensitive. There's no way else to say it. Depressed people are sensitive. Ultra sensitive. If you're a woman, you're a man, you're a teenage boy, teenage girl, it doesn't matter. Depression affects us all in this profound way. And something else I want to make clear before I get started is not everybody experiences depression in the same way. Everybody can be in a state of depression for different reasons. We have different personalities, we have different life experiences, we have different triggers. So although everybody feels depression the same way, what causes the depression and what keeps somebody in a state of depression, it can change from individual to individual. But one thing that is consistent with all people who suffer from depression is that everything you see and hear from people around you is skewed. And it's so easy for somebody who is depressed to take something that somebody says as being meaningful, interpreting it as being negative. So I'm going to do my best in this video to help you better understand and apply this. So I have 12 things that are common phrases people say to a depressed person that really are not helpful at all. And I'm going to give you suggestions of what to say. So, number 1, just think positively. Just think positive thoughts. This is number 1 for a reason, because that is usually one of the first responses anybody will say to somebody who is depressed. Somebody will come to their friend and family member and say, I'm really depressed. I'm not enjoying life. I'm suffering. It's hard for me to experience joy. I need help. And when you're in that position, when somebody comes to you like that, I can understand why it's hard to find something meaningful to say, because you know that anything you say could trigger them. And you know, how could you respond to something like that? Because it should be common sense for all people that thinking positively is a healthy and productive way to live. We all know this. We all know this. Every depressed person knows this. Every person who is suffering from depression doesn't want to be depressed. They understand that thinking positively is healthy, and that in any situation in our life, if you're confronted with a bad situation, thinking positively can help you overcome these situations so you can continue about your day and find the joys in life. But when you just say, think positively, a depressed individual interprets that as you're lecturing me. You're talking down to me. You think I don't know that I should be thinking positively? I know this. If it were so easy to just think positively, depression would not exist. If it were that easy. Depression is not sadness. We all get sad from time to time. We all have bad experiences, but depression is not sadness or just feeling blue. So think again before you go up to somebody who's depressed, and even if you genuinely want to help and you're very inspirational, you want to encourage them and inspire them, even if you have that high sort of energy, somebody who's low would look at you and feel like you're talking down to them. I know I should be thinking positively. I know. But it's not enough. It's often not enough to get out of chronic depression. And that's a big one within the spiritual community. Oh boy. Oh, these love and lighters, these new agers love to say that all the time. Just think positively. Yes, that is something we all should do. That's healthy. But there is a place for negativity in this world. Now, chronic negativity is not healthy. Pessimism is not healthy. But it's okay to be angry at bad things that are going on in the world. That's okay. It's okay to be upset that global tyranny is controlling the human race. It's okay to be angry because anger can be used as a motivational force to make positive changes in the world. Okay, so the natural baseline for all of us should be to think positively in all situations as best we can. Okay? But especially when you're depressed, thinking positively is not enough. So please reconsider the way you say it and how you say it to somebody, because depressed people know. They know this already. Okay? Number 2, did you try, and then insert an activity. Did you try yoga? Have you tried meditation? Have you tried changing up your diet? Have you tried exercise? Have you tried this, that, or the other? Again, I know that comes from a place of wanting to help. Because you're just trying to offer a suggestion that you genuinely think could help them. But understand that most people who are depressed have tried a lot of things. Most people who are depressed have tried all of those things. Meditation, thinking positively, exercise in various forms, yoga. Now, a depressed individual may not have really thrust themselves fully in these sorts of activities for a long period of time consistently to know if it'll work. Granted. Okay, and if you are depressed, I would encourage you to try everything and go back and try certain things again, but try to be consistent about it. You might not see results for a couple months, but when you're depressed, another couple months of having to suffer is something you don't want to go through when every day it feels like you're in hell. So a depressed individual wants to feel better as soon as possible. So although this seems like a healthy suggestion to say to a friend or family member, did you try this? I would suggest you to refrain from doing that. Do not offer suggestions to a depressed individual unless they specifically ask you for suggestions. Because chances are they're aware of all those things. They know that they're healthy exercises and tasks. They know this. They're not living in a hole. You know, they might be living in a dark pit of despair on the inside, but still they remember to an extent of what it's like to engage in those activities and how they are healthy to you. But just offering suggestions, obvious suggestions like that, can be triggering for somebody who is depressed. Number 3, you have so much going for you. Why are you depressed? This comes from both friends and family members. You might get a parent that says to their child, especially a teenage child, and when that parent doesn't have that level of understanding of what depression is, they often interpret their teenage child as just rebelling, as taking for granted their life situation, when it's not the case. So a parent would often say, well, what do you have to be depressed about? You have a house, you have a roof over your head, you have food, you don't have to worry about bills, you have a family that loves you. What do you have to be depressed about? Well, depression, the depression monster, gives no mercy to anybody in any life situation. It could hit anybody wherever you are at in life. It gives no mercy. It is unrelenting. And again, depression does not equate with sadness. Nope. And even friends might say, well look at you. You're beautiful. You're so attractive. How could you not even have a boyfriend or girlfriend? Like, look at you. You're wonderful. What do you have to be depressed about? You have everything you need. You have a high-paying job that is meaningful to you. This hurts somebody who is depressed because you're not validating their feelings. Alright? Everybody's feelings are valid. It doesn't mean that the rational feelings aren't rational. They're not. And when you're depressed, everything is skewed and you are thinking irrationally. And first come thoughts, feelings come after your thoughts, emotions. So when you're thinking, your thoughts are not aligned with the present moment in being happy and being in a place where you're enjoying life. Your emotions will reflect that. So it's important to validate somebody's feelings, to be there and to listen to them. And you who are not suffering from depression will, rightly look at somebody who's depressed and they'll seem irrational to you. They're not making sense. Like, why aren't they looking at the world the way that I do, that a healthy person should? They're not healthy. That's why. Just like a disease. You would not say to somebody who has a broken leg or, like liver disease and say, why don't you just think positively and get better? Because they have this ailment that's there whether they like it or not. Depression is the same thing. It's just an invisible illness. They're not well. They're not thinking right. Number 4. There are so many others who have it worse than you. Oh, the ignorance of that. Yeah, sure, you can say, there are kids in Africa who are in worse conditions than you. That they struggle to find food every single day. There are people in poverty all around the world who are suffering. Yes, that's true. There are a lot of people in very bad conditions in this world, and that's very unfortunate. But it should not take away from the suffering a depressed individual is saying, even if they do have everything they need. They have a job, they have a house, they have food every day, they don't have to worry about paying bills, they have friends and family who care about them, who support them, but they're still suffering. Suffering is suffering is suffering. You cannot compare suffering. That's so invalidating to what your loved one or friend is going through. They know a depressed individual isn't dumb. They're just in a place where they're not thinking rationally, and it feels like they have 2,000 pounds strapped to their back at all times. They know that. They know there are bad things going on in the world. They know there are people who are in very bad conditions in different ways. They know this. Okay? But that should never take away from what they are feeling on the inside that is tormenting them. Number 5. Cheer up. Oh, come on. You're feeling so bad. Just cheer up. Cheer up. Look at the sun shining. You know, that might be something you say to somebody who's feeling sad. Maybe you did not get into the college. You weren't accepted into the college that you really wanted to get into. You're feeling sad. You're feeling down. You're feeling blue. Maybe that's something you can say to somebody like that. You know, cheer up. You didn't get into this, but there's still so many other opportunities. You'll find something better, I assure you. Just cheer up. But again, depression does not equate with sadness. Saying cheer up to somebody who is depressed is a sure way to plummet them back down into the dark pit of despair. Oh, I never thought about that. Just cheer up. No. It's not that easy when you're depressed. That's, again, very invalidating of what they are feeling, the suffering that they're going through. Number 6. It's all in your head. Well, of course it is. Of course it's in my head. Where else would it be? Of course it is. You think a depressed person doesn't know that? That they are prisoners inside of their own mind? They know that. But knowing it doesn't make it much easier to get out. It's all in your head. I feel like that's a response people often say when they don't know what else to say. And that's understandable. When you're in a position, somebody comes up to you and says, I'm depressed out of my mind. I want to die. I don't want to be here anymore. And I feel like a lot of people freeze up, understandably. I mean, what do you say to somebody who's like that? Especially when they come to you just out of the blue, no pun intended. It's all in your head. Yes, depressed people know that. They know that. And again, that feels like you're talking down to them. You're telling them something like they're juvenile and they never thought about that. And somehow knowing that is going to get them out of depression. Please reconsider saying something like that. Number 7. You are responsible for your own happiness. Yes! Every single person is responsible in creating their own happiness. Every single person, every one of us, is responsible in creating a life that has meaning to us, that brings us happiness. And every day we have to try to maintain this happiness. Yes, of course. Of course. How is saying that to somebody who is depressed productive at all? You're responsible for your own happiness. First off, that sounds like you are talking down to them. That you're not coming from a very caring position. And you're trying to understand their pain and their suffering, what they're going through. We all know we're responsible for our own happiness. But when you're depressed, it's so incredibly difficult to experience joy. You don't even remember what it's like to feel joy. You feel like a shell of your former self. Okay. Number 8. Even I get depressed now and then. We all go through this. Yes! And if you'll go back to my other video where I describe what it feels like to be depressed, you'll understand there are two main types of depression. Two main types. They're situational. That's what we all go through. You lose a loved one, a pet. You lose a job. You go through a breakup in a relationship. You get depressed. You get sad for a period of time. You go through a grieving process. Sometimes it'll last weeks. Sometimes it'll even just last days. We all have bad days where we're just feeling sad. That's part of the human experience. We have ups and downs. There's an ebb and flow to life. We all experience that, yes. But the second form of depression is chronic or clinical depression. This is somebody who is feeling depression consistently for weeks, months, or years, and it won't go away. Every day they're in this abysmal state. They can't experience joy. They forgot what it's like to be happy. They feel like a shell of their former self. Positive thinking isn't enough to help. Yes, we all go through that. Again, that's invalidating to somebody who's depressed. Nobody wants to be depressed. They're suffering. Suffering is suffering is suffering. Remember that. Number 9. This is something you'll hear people, especially in the spiritual New Age community, say. Just stay in the present moment. Stay in the present moment. Yes, of course. Any depressed person will usually know, at least at a basic level, that when you dwell on the past, your past mistakes, failures, maybe things you regret saying, you're in a state of regret. And you feel guilt and shame. You're dwelling on the past. That prevents you from being in the present moment and moving forward. And that leads to depression. That's one of the main things that lead to depression. Or somebody who's depressed will get anxiety about the future. They'll stress about what is to come or what they perceive is to come, things that have not happened yet. And they'll get full depression and anxiety. Past depression, future is anxiety. They go hand in hand together, and they do prevent any individual from being anchored in the present moment and enjoying their life from moment to moment with all of its joys, ups and downs. Okay? Yes, we all should be in the present moment, but when you're depressed, it's hard. It's just so incredibly difficult, I assure you. And many people might be watching this have heard of Eckhart Tolle, who wrote that book, The Power of Now and The New Earth. Now, this is something he would say, and I think a lot of his followers would be in the camp that would say things like this to a depressed person. Just stay in the present moment. And while Eckhart Tolle, from what I understand, went through a long period of this sort of depression, and this got him out of it. He had that revelation one day where he realized that everything is in the present moment. Everything else is an illusion. The past is gone. It's gone. The future is yet to come. But right here, we're creators in the present moment. And that helped him get out of his depression with that sort of a revelation. Realizing, separating the I from the voice inside. Maybe that's not the right way he would describe it. But it's separating yourself from that voice inside of your head and realizing you are a strong, powerful being. You're here in the present moment, and you don't need to attach yourself to those thoughts. That is a very healthy thing to do, a very wholesome teaching that stems from ancient knowledge and all spiritual traditions. Be in the present moment. So while it is a very productive thing to say, and I think people do need to understand that you you know being in the present moment is where you will find joy and peace and happiness. I would ask you to reconsider just outright saying that to somebody who is depressed. Maybe there's a better way that you can gently guide them to realizing that for themselves, being in the present moment. And I might discuss ways that you can do that as well. Number 10. You are dragging me down and making this whole room and house feel gloomy. This is the sort of response that would often come from a family member or a significant other. When, let's say it's your significant other, you love your significant other. They've always been your best friend, your lover, your confidant. You do everything together. You create a life together, and you give more meaning to one another. And all of a sudden, your significant other comes down with depression. And that's hard for the person who is not depressed, who is a partner. That's hard for you. I know it is. Because this person you love, you created a life with them. They're all of a sudden a shell of their former self. They're not experiencing joy. And you can feel it. I know. When you're around somebody who's depressed, you can feel their energy. You can feel them feeling low. And it can and inevitably will at some point impact you energetically. And I know it's hard. And when you're living with this person and they're in that gloomy state every day, of course you're going to feel that gloominess in your house. Of course you are. But don't disparage them because they're in that state. Because I assure you, they are trying. They're trying their hardest to get out of that energetic state. But if you reach a breaking point yourself when your loved one is depressed and it's impacting you negatively, try to find a better way to live around them. I know it's not always easy, believe me, I know. It is tough for loved ones. It is very difficult. But they know that they are in a low energetic state. They know this. They know that they are impacting those around them. In fact, somebody who is depressed will know it to the point where they don't want to reach out to friends and family members, for your significant other, and tell them they're depressed because they're afraid of how they will be perceived as being weak, not having willpower, as somebody who will not bring fun to a party. And it's true. Nobody... I'm going to try to watch my own words. But when you're at a party, a party is supposed to be joyful. Everybody's supposed to be having fun. And then somebody comes who's depressed, you can feel that energy. And it's the antithesis to a very joyful, decadent experience. And it can be hard. So I encourage you to do your best. They know they're depressed. They know they're impacting their friends and family. Do your best to be there for them anyway. And don't just say, in a very antagonistic tone, you're making me feel gloomy, you're making everything suck. That's not the right thing to say. Number 11. I enjoyed your company so much more when you were happy. Don't you see why that would hurt? Again, that would probably come from somebody who's a significant other or a family member or a friend who you're all of a sudden hanging around this person you know and love who is a shell of their former self. Of course, they're not going to be as fun and joyful to be around, but you gotta love them anyway, right where they're at. They don't want to be suffering. That's just where they are at energetically. And to say that I loved you more before you had depression, that'll make their depression worse. That'll make them feel guilty. It will make them feel guilty for feeling guilty. Imagine that. And we all have our ups and downs in life. You wouldn't say that to somebody who just lost their mother of an illness and are going through a grieving process. Maybe even for years, they're still grieving the loss of their mother. You wouldn't go up to them and say, I loved you more before your mother died. Now you're not fun to be around, you're sad all the time. You wouldn't say that to them. So why would you say that to somebody who's depressed? Because when you're depressed, even if you haven't lost somebody through death, essentially you've lost yourself. And that is a grieving process. You've lost yourself. And you're grieving that. And you're finding a way to regain yourself. Just like somebody would go through that process of regaining their confidence and love for life after losing somebody who's meant the world to them. Number 12. You are just looking for attention. Oh. No. No. Stop that. A depressed person is not looking for attention. And especially with teenagers, I think this would come from, who are still living with their parents. They go to high school. I think a parent would often say, you're just looking for attention by being depressed. You want me to feel sorry for you. No, they're suffering. Whether it's rational or not, they are suffering. They're not looking for attention. Something is going on with them on the inside that is driving them into the abyss, the dark pit of despair. That is not a nice thing to say at all. They're not looking for attention. Please try to validate their feelings of what they're going through. Try to understand where they're coming from, even if it's not rational. You can't think with logic when it comes to somebody who is depressed. And this is where I'm going to go into what you can say instead. Because I want to offer solutions too. It's important for you to understand these things that negatively impact a depressed person, but I want to give you things that will help. So these are my suggestions of things that you can possibly say that are better than those 12 things that I just listed right now. You might just go up to them on any given day and just ask them, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling? Just, that's all. And sure enough, they will probably tell you, if they're very close to you, life sucks. I'm not happy. I hate the world. I don't want to be here anymore. That's something along those lines are what you'll hear from them. And you'll anticipate this. But simply asking them, how are you doing today, shows that you genuinely care about their feelings and what they're going through. And that even if they are in a very dark state of mind, that you're still there for them and that you care about them even when they are there. Something else you can say is simply, I'm sorry that you're feeling this way. if they respond to you when you ask them how they're doing, and they say, I hate life, I want to die. I know it's a hard thing to find a way to respond to something like that. I know. But try saying something equivalent to, I'm sorry you're feeling that way. Because again, you're validating their feelings. Don't say something like, you shouldn't feel that way. Why would you feel that? Just think positively. Cheer up. Don't offer suggestions. Somebody who is depressed wants you to know that you are there for them, even through their darkest times. That's the whole point of marriage. When you marry somebody, you say those lines. I'm with you. I don't know the words. Through the ups and downs of life, I'm going to be here for you, essentially, is the vow you make in marriage. And then inevitably, when bad things happen, when your spouse comes down with an illness or, especially depression, you're starting to look back at that vow and realize, shit, what did I get myself into? But that's the point of marriage, is that there are going to be ups and downs for both of you. And if you're a friend, you don't necessarily make that sort of vow, but we all go through our ups and downs, right? And if you're not necessarily depressed, but you're going through a sad grieving process, I think it would also be helpful to you for your friend to come up to you and say, I'm so sorry you're feeling this way. I'm sorry for this situation. I'm here for you. Number 3, something you can say is, I love you and I believe in you. Don't offer suggestions of what they can do unless they ask. Listen to them. They might pour their heart out to you and say, I want to die. And a simple response you can say and mean it. Look in their eyes and tell them, I love you just the way that you are. I love you now as much as I loved you yesterday, as a year ago, before you started to feel these dark feelings. I love you. And I believe in you. That's important to say that. I believe in you. Because we all know that we have to create our own happiness. Every one of us is responsible for getting us out of our dark times, so we can feel better. Now, it helps to have support from friends and family, but ultimately it is up to us to muster up the courage and strength and will to get better emotionally. So just say, I believe in you. I know you have the strength to get through this. You are strong, and I believe in you. Something else you can say is simply, I am here for you. I'm here for you. Because a depressed individual doesn't want to feel like they're a burden on anybody. Because that's what you feel when you're depressed. You feel like you're a burden on your friends and family, which discourages you from going outside, from taking chances, moving forward in life, because you're worried you're going to be a burden on anybody. And I'm so sorry to anybody who feels that way, because if you're depressed, I want you to know you are not a burden. No, you're not. I'm sorry if you have people in your life who fail to understand what you're going through. But you are not a burden. You are needed in this world. You are needed in this world, and you're fine just the way that you are. You're just going through a dark time. But you're beautiful just the way that you are. And when you say, I'm here for you to somebody who is depressed, that shows them that you do care about their feelings. And then, as best as you can, try to listen to them. Truly listen to them. They're going to be irrational. They're not going to make sense. Their thoughts are skewed, but just listen to them anyway. And I know that takes a toll on you in your life, especially if every day this person is coming up to you with these negative feelings. And you have to take care of yourself first and foremost. You do. Okay? Because you, the person who is not feeling depressed, you don't deserve to feel down like that. You don't deserve to feel a lack of joy. You deserve to be happy. A depressed person deserves to be happy. But as best as you possibly can, try to be there for them. And I know that's not always easy. Something else you can say to them is, I am proud of you for your accomplishments today. I'm so proud of you for what you've done today. Say that to them, even if all that they did today on any given day was get out of bed and take a shower. If that's all that they did, the rest of their day they spent in bed, sleeping, trying to sleep. If all that they did was get out of bed, congratulate for them and mean it. Tell them, I'm so proud of you for mustering up the strength to be able to get out of bed. That's a huge accomplishment. Because when you're in that state, and I encourage you to go back to my video of what depression feels like. It feels like climbing a mountain. Just getting out of bed. And that's something we all take for granted. Every day, all of us get out of bed. That's our natural response. Make some coffee, take a shower, brush your teeth, eat food. That's the baseline routine we all get accustomed to. But most people will go to their jobs, they'll engage in their hobbies, they'll volunteer, they'll do this, they'll do that. Somebody who's depressed, just getting out of bed is a chore. It's like climbing a mountain. So if you truly care about them, be genuine about it. Say, that's awesome that you did that today. And I'm so proud of you. Number 6, you can say something like, if you ever need any help in any way, I will do everything I can to find the help that you need. And you can acknowledge, it's okay to acknowledge to somebody, I love you so much. You mean the world to me, but I'm not totally equipped to be here for you to the capacity that I feel that you need me. And that's okay to say that. A depressed person, if you say it right, with compassion, would understand, because a depressed individual is not thinking rationally. They know it. They know they're impacting those around them. So saying something like, I will get you whatever help you need. Just let me know. And, don't necessarily offer suggestions unless they ask you. But if they come up to you and say, I need help. I can't do this by myself. I need help. Listen to them. And if you're a family member especially, try to find that help, because I know it is hard to understand somebody who is depressed. I know. Believe me, I know. And then when you come out of depression, you look at yourself and others who are depressed still, and it's like, what can I say? Because I know what it was like to feel that way, but there's no easy way to do it. But, if they genuinely ask you for help, do the best you can. Maybe you can help them find a therapist. You can help them find a support group. You can buy them all the nutrition that they need through supplements, healthy organic food. If you're a friend, it's much the same way. If they come up to you and say, I need help, if they find the courage to admit that they need help, there are still things that you can do, no matter how small or big, to help them find help. Number 7 would be, I would say something along the lines of, you are not alone in this. I'm here for you. I want you to know that you're not alone. I know that on the inside you feel incredibly lonely. Nobody can possibly understand what you're going through. But even through you feeling alone in those regards, I want you to know I'm right here for you. I'm still here for you. And there are a community of people in this world who also suffer from depression, who do know what it's like. And I know they would love to communicate with you, where you can get this sense of community around people who do understand what you're going through. And if I can help you at all to find those people, I would be happy to. And that's, you could use different variations of those 7 suggestions. There's no easy way to deal with somebody who's depressed. It is like walking on eggshells, and it does impact relationships, familial ties, friendships. And if you are the one who has a loved one who is depressed, but you're not depressed yourself, I'm sorry that you are also being impacted by them, but please try to come from a place of compassion and empathy as much as you can. And, do take care of yourself first, because that person that you love needs you. They need you to be strong, and they might drain your energy. So take care of yourself, and they don't want to. Please don't tell them that they're a burden. So keep all that into consideration, please. And please be considerate of your fellow humans, because our brothers and sisters are suffering. So I hope that was helpful to you. I'm going to create more videos about depression, as well as many other things. So stay tuned. I thank you for being here. I love you. I truly love you. I believe in you. And we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.